And what's up everybody and welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 worst perks in Dead by Daylight for killers. These perks are just generally bad. That means you either have better alternatives instead of playing this perk, these perks are easily counterplayable, or they may even benefit your enemy. So let's look into this list and get right into it. Number 10. Shadowborn, and Shadowborn is a perk from the Wraith. In the past, Shadowborn was actually quite useful because you could increase your field of view, especially on killers like Blight, Nurse or other ones. It was very useful, but they have changed it. And what does it do now? Well, when blinded by any means, you're granted a 6, 8 or 10% haste status effect for 10 seconds. So why is this perk bad? Well, you have better alternatives. Instead of taking Shadowborn, you can just take a Lightborn and not get blinded at all. Of course, you're not going to have the haste status effect, but also you're not going to be blind. And Lightborn just gives you more orientation, makes it easier for you to keep up and track the survivor. And imagine you're picking up a survivor and another survivor comes by and tries to flashlight save the other survivor. Well, they can't do that with Lightborn, but they still can do it with Shadowborn. This gives you generally more the opportunity to just make the enemies useless with this. It is not the worst perk here on the list, therefore a well-deserved number 10. On spot number 9, we have a perk from the Huntress, and it is Territorial Imperative. Territorial Imperatives allows you to read the aura of the survivors that go into the basement if you're further away than 24 meters. And this is again a perk that gets heavily outclassed by other perks such as Darkness Revealed. Darkness Revealed lets you see the aura of survivors that are near a locker. If you know the structure of the basement, there are always lockers, and therefore Darkness Revealed just gives you much more opportunities to actually get value out of this, because whenever you're using it, you're going to see also the survivors that are in the basement. You can't go into a game and hope that people go into the basement. The basement is generally a place where the survivors do not want to be and that they try to avoid by themselves. They usually don't want to go in there, so you would have to play a basement build. But generally this perk is just not as good if you have to play a basement build in the first place to actually get some value out of this. For Territorial Imperative, we've also started actually an analysis, and we were taking a look how often do survivors go into the basement, how often do you actually get value out of this perk. So me and my friends, we have been just playing casually, and out of 100 games, in about 10 games, people went into the basement. In 7 of those cases, somebody was just hooked in the basement and got unhooked. That means you are possibly taking a perk with you that only pops off in 3% of all cases. I think this already shows why this perk is bad. Of course, these numbers can vary dependent on the MMR that you're playing in, but I think it is quite shocking to just see these numbers then. Number 8 is the perk Hoarder, and Hoarder is a perk from the Twins which allows to spawn 2 additional chests in the trial. And let's stop right here. Spawning 2 additional chests? Why? You would ask yourself that, right? Survivors can of course open up these chests to get an item out, but most of the survivors actually know that it's not really worth to open up a chest to get an item out. So overall, this is already kinda just a wasted perk slot. But why did they implement it? Well, it is for the rest of this perk. So whenever a survivor opens up a chest or also picks up an item, you'll receive a loud noise notification. This is a rather situational perk. Overall, items are not the big deciding factor within the games of Dead by Daylight. So that means you're really wasting a perk slot to just have 2 additional chests for the survivors. Yes, you get a little bit of information if they are going to pick up an item or open up a chest, but let's be honest, there's so many other things that are going to be more likely, such as that they heal up each other, a nurse is calling, or that you kick a gen, nowhere to hide, which gives you so much more information and is just better for you generally to go against the survivors. Then we go on with perk number 7. It is Septic Touch by the Dredge. What does Septic Touch do? Well, whenever a survivor performs a healing action while they're inside of your terror radius, they suffer from blindness and the exhaust status effect. This perk just makes it very, very clear for the survivor to not heal in your terror radius. So that means you're also conditioning the survivor to not heal near you, which is rather bad for you because you could come up to the survivor, hit them again, and they're on the ground. So they are not in safety, at least usually when they're in your terror radius. And as survivors are also getting notified, the only thing that they're going to do against Septic Touch is, well, they're going to run out of the terror radius. The counterplay is so easy. This perk is just weak. Number 6 is Overwhelming Presence by the Doctor. Whenever a survivor uses the item within your terror radius, the item is going to deplete faster. That's already it. So realistically, if we talk about flashlights, a Lightborn, much better than this. Otherwise, items are not the deciding factor within the games. The higher depletion rate is just not enough to really waste a perk slot on that. And if you are already going to take a perk with which you want to annoy the survivors, where you want to make it harder for them to use their items, well, why not just go with Franklin's Demise, because they will then drop the item and the depletion is automatically happening without them using the item. With Franklin's Demise, you at least also have the possibility that they want to get back to the item and pick it up again. Well, overall, weak perk, and there are better alternatives as always. Number 5 is a general perk which is available for all the different killers. It is Insidious. And Insidious grants you the undetectable status effect if you're just standing around for a short amount of time. But this is already conditioning you in a bad way. Just standing around and waiting at a corner that a player is coming by, well, it is bad for you. You're not going to gain as much from it compared to actively going into the chase against the different people. And also, you need to be as lucky that the survivor wants to come by. In the past, Insidious was being used mostly with Boba, who was standing close to hooks, and when survivors came over and wanted to get their friends off the hook, Boba was able to insta-down them. Well, this is not really the case anymore because of the camp meter, so this perk kinda lost its meaning. It never had a big meaning to begin with. Overall, bad perk, conditions you for bad game decisions, and is overly not the right thing to play with. Number 4 is Predator, a perk from the Wraith. And what does Predator do? Well, Predator lets the scratch marks that a survivor spawns spawn more closely together. But this is actually a problem, because when they spawn more closely together, they're not going to be on the walls, maybe on the ceiling, and also on the ground, but they are going to be basically just on the ground and behind the survivor. You may say now, hey, but why is that bad? It makes the tracking easier. That's wrong. It makes it less visible for you where the survivors are going, and it makes it also less visible for you when you're just passing by. So you may have had this already multiple times, that you're going through the map, you're looking further away, and you see some scratch marks on the walls, right? With Predator, this is happening less. Generally, this makes it then harder for you to also track the survivor, because you have less of an idea in which direction they actually went. Not to forget, if you're already used to the normal tracking without Predator, it is a change for you how to really go after the survivor. And if you're actually getting used to Predator, well, it is going to be a crutch for you, because as soon as you're not playing with it anymore, you're going to get much worse at tracking. I think generally they should probably rework this perk, make like glowing footsteps where the person has, instead of just having scratch marks spawning closer together or something like that. But overall, right now, this perk is in a bad state, and therefore, thumbs down. This brings us then to the second worst perk in the game. It is once again a Huntress perk, Beast of Prey. Beast of Prey gives you the undetectable status effect upon reaching the Bloodlust status effect. That means you have to be in a chase with a survivor that is running away from you to be undetectable? How is that supposed to help you? The survivor is going to know already where you are. And not to forget, you shouldn't rely on bloodlust in your chases anyway. That means already that you have chased that survivor for 15 seconds and then to grant yourself just the undetectable status effect in a chase where the survivor already knows that you are after them, that's not going to help you. So this is a well-deserved number 2 and this perk sucks. Number 3, Unrelenting, another general perk. Unrelenting reduces the cooldown between missed basic attacks by 20, 25 or 30%. And this is just weird. You do not want to miss your basic attacks as a killer. You don't really have a benefit from this because the 20, 25 or 30% are not even that much. And generally speaking, if you're going to even miss a basic attack, well, the time that you're going to save with this is not really making it up for it that you're wasting a perk slot. There may be some cases that you construct where you want to miss the basic attack, but they're so rare, just throw away that perk, it's not needed. And before we go on to number 1, I just want to point one thing out. Most of these perks, like 70% of them, are for non-DLC killers or general perks. That means just the starting killers have some of the worst perks that you can imagine in the game and that may even benefit your enemy. Of course you can say with some of them, oh, but a new player should use them or could use them. Yeah, but rather you learn to play the game in the correct way instead of getting some crutches that you have then a hard time to get away from. But without further ado, let's go to number 1. Number 1, the worst perk as a killer to play with is Shattered Hope. And Shattered Hope is just a general perk that you shouldn't pick for one simple reason. People do not take boons with them that often. What does Shattered Hope do? Well, instead of snuffing a boon totem, you can destroy it. You also get the benefit that if you have destroyed the totem, the aura of all the survivors that are within the range of it going to get revealed to you. You can see the survivors, but overall, a survivor needs to play a boon totem. How often does that happen? Yeah, we had a meta where Circle of Healing was played a lot. That is true, of course, and their Shattered Hope was not as bad, but they have changed it. Boon totems are not as popular as they were in the past. Just in general, I would say this perk has so little use cases, it does not make sense to take with you because you don't know what the survivors are going to take with them, which perks they're going to play. It is a gamble every time that you have this perk with you, and rather take something that actually gets you value, that you can actually use in a different place. You're definitely going to win more matches through that then. That was it already, guys. This was the list of the top 10 worst perks for killers. Write down in the comments if I may have missed some bad perks, and you can also write if you agree with that list, if you think something differently, and I would love to hear your opinion, your thoughts about that. See you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.